And we've lost quite a bit of time in the beginning. So we're going to try to go through as much as we can in the time that we have, and hopefully we're able to still hit all of our targets. So for today's agenda, we're going to go through some leadership tactics. We're going to talk about the board of directors, their role, and do some governance training. Then we're going to go to your resource strategy linkage. We're going to look at what resources that the organization needs and what you have available to you. And then we're going to do a bit of leadership training. We're going to talk about your personality profiles. I asked Raheem to share that link with everyone. I'm not sure. Raheem, did you share the link with everybody?
I want to share with the LibCam people. Oh my God.
Well, then maybe we'll end on time because we didn't get to do the personality profiles, and we can start with
Can
that.
we do that for the
Yeah.
division of labor training to our next session?
We could do that the next session when we're talking about organizational behavior. So it seems like there's a lot going on, but I'm glad we could at least squeeze in another session before the end of the month.
Well, I don't understand why would Raheem forget about us?
No, what happened is that when information was sent, it was sent for me to share with at that time, the section that was on hand was the one for LibCam, and I completely forgot to include you guys on that email list. But our next training will be a division of labor, assigning responsibility to each individual member. We will do it before that time. That would be the best time to do it again, right? Because by that time we'll know what character traits each individual get and how they'll be able to handle each program. Isn't it, Santel?
Yeah, we can definitely implement it when we do the division of labor and the organizational structure. It would have been fun to know, but you know what? We're running low on time anyways, and that would have been like a very long discussion. So I'm glad we're going to start our next session with that. It'll be fun. So the last time we did the first two topics, strategic planning, focusing on funding sustainability, really working on your business model. And we looked at strategies to strengthen the organization power and to build strong mutual influence relationships within the organization, with clientele, and with stakeholders. So we did that by looking at your business model, your external stakeholders, your internal stakeholders, who your target audience is, what programs you're looking to put together, and really did a deep dive into that. Today, we're going to focus on board of director training, focusing on your responsibility and contribution to the organizational operational efficiency in areas of accountability and ethical policy decision-making processes. And then we're going to look at executive staff leadership training, focusing on program management sustainability of the strategic plan. And then as we go, every time we're going to hit a new topic until we reach the end of our sessions together. So let's get started. So we're going to start with leadership tactics. So what is governance? Governance is the oversight system that removes the people and processes if they aren't working well. It is the process that checks and balances power to assure that the principles and interests of the community as a whole are always placed above the interest and power of any individual or faction. So we're going to look at what the community needs, and as an organization, how are we going to fulfill those needs of the community over the needs of us as individuals or board members who are running the organization. So there are 5 recommendations to assist with better decision-making for the board of directors. Oh, it looks like Michael went out again and he's popping back in. This has been a recurring theme. So the first recommendation is board members must be experts. They must be experts in their field and what it is that they're bringing to the table when working with the board and in their role of the organization. Number 2, board meeting procedures should focus on debating new decisions, strategies, and policies, and not just reviewing past performance. So as the board, you're always looking at the forward direction of your organization. You're gonna probably quickly assess what has transpired, but always future focused and ensuring that what you're doing now is aligning with where you're trying to take the organization in the future. Number 3, directors need better access to information. We all know information is power. So having access to information, the most up-to-date research, knowing what's going on in your community, knowing what's going on in the industry will help you to make better decisions as boards as you're focused on the future strategic planning of the organization. And then number 4, Directors should be required to devote a substantial portion of their professional time to the corporation or organization. We all know that, you know, everybody else may have another job, but when it comes to running the organization, that we're devoting a substantial amount of time to, you know, putting some energy towards the future goals of the organization and the community needs ahead of our own individual needs as board members. And then finally, board members must have the right incentives. Why are you working with the community? Is it some inherent thing within you that you need to help, or is it, you know, some self-serving purpose? And that's how you always assess whether you have the right board members in place to help, because you want to ensure that the needs of the community are first and foremost on your list and your priority list. So to be successful, all organizations must have checks and balances, as I said. So A, even in an idea of meritocracy, merit cannot be the only determining factor in assigning responsibility and authority. So you want to make sure that everything's aligning with your vision, mission, and purpose of the organization. B, make sure that no one is more powerful than the system or so important that they are irreplaceable. You want to understand and make everybody understand that we're working to serve the community. And you know, we can't let our egos get in the way when we're trying to make decisions about what's the best place or what's the best thing to do as a whole, as an organization, to help and better serve the community. C, we want to beware of fiefdoms, and a fiefdom is an organization that is controlled by a dominant person or group. So even though there is a chairman or, you know, somebody who might be in charge, all of us have an equal decision-making authority. All of us have votes, all of us give weight. And we all get to say what, you know, what direction we want the organization to go. D, you want to make clear that the organization structure and rules are designed to ensure that its checks and balances system functions well. And we're going to talk about that. So that brings us to our first exercise. And I want us to discuss the structure and the rules that are currently in place for the organization. What is the structure of the organization? How does it currently run? Who is in what position right now? And what is their role? Let's start there. And this is where you guys chime in.
So Chantel, what did he say? What did he say again?
So right now we're going to look at the structure of the organization and the rules that are in place for the organization.
Okay.
As a board, right, we're going to look at how things are done. But right now, what's the organizational structure? Who facilitates what role?
Okay, so Marco, do you want me to come in? Marco, are you there? Mr. Jara, do you want me to come in?
Yes, please go ahead. Go ahead, please.
So Chantel, looking at the structure of JTWC, having worked with them for a couple of years now, so all we have at the executive level, there are positions assigned to certain individuals, but those positions have not been leveraged enough, right? So we have financial secretary position, we have treasurer position, we have other positions, but they have not been effectively neutralized, right? So what we at this Marco is the executive directors of the organization, right? So there's a hierarchical structure in place, but that structure in place, Marco, has tend to be corrected. That structure in place, people have not actually functioned in those capacities as they should, right? And that is why this training is very important. That is why division labor aspect training we're going to be doing in our next session will be important. But right now they have a structure in place which has been largely undertaken by Michael based on the availability and based on the availability of other staff of other directors. So what has been happening as of this point, Mrs. Noah, Mrs. Jala She is the general secretary for now. And then Mr. Jala, the husband, is the program coordinator. Marco Jones is the executive director. I'm not sure of what is the federal name that just came. His position, Marco
Davis.
I don't know what David's position is now as of this point, but that is a structure we had in place, right?
Okay.
We have like an about administrative structure in place. So I'm wondering if that is why we're trying to get at.
Yeah, that is exactly what I'm trying to get at. And then the next thing I'm going to ask is, how were these positions assigned? Was there a voting process, or did somebody just say, this is what you're going to do?
Go. So maybe Marco can come into that and see if we can add something there for that.
Yeah, okay, let me come into that.
The volume is so low. I don't know that means my volume or somebody else, but my volume is very low.
The volume low?
I can hear you well. I can hear everybody well.
Yeah.
Okay, let me come to that.
Okay.
When we established the organization, right? Individual were asked about various positions, right? Because at times we could not host elections, so the various positions were open. We needed people to fill in that gap so that the organization can run as soon as possible. So that's how we try to put all those individuals in various positions that they will operate in the meantime until the organization gets to normal, and then we can start our voting process.
Okay. And running. Better systems in place. Okay. That makes sense. And that's fine. We just want to know how things are currently being done so we could put a strategy in place for how we expect it to run going forward, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So the next question I have is, how are things done? And by how are things done, how do we decide on what we're going to do, what programs we're going to run? How are these decisions made? Does everybody have an equal vote? Do you come together physically in meetings? Do you have monthly meetings on things, quarterly meetings? Like, how does the organization actually run?
Yeah, the organization actually is run on a monthly meeting basis.
Monthly meeting basis?
Yeah.
Okay, and what happens in those meetings? How are decisions made?
Those meetings, when we hosting the meetings for Jehovah the Workcross, individual will bring in suggestions about the organization prosperity, about the organization leadership ability, and individual will also bring in how best the organization can engage various projects by contacting the project manager like Rahim Kone. Yeah, and then once we contact him, he will let us know what's available, what is on hand, and how we're going to go about running those various projects. So that's how we've been doing time to time.
Okay. In addition to that, Chantel, just recently when I read the project and the project is approved, what happened? I provide the contract that needs to be signed to Mr. Michael, who is the executive director. And then he signed the contract review, and when he satisfied, he sent it to me and signed it and submitted to the government or to the private foundation that approved the project. We had a meeting a couple of days ago with the staff, and they recommended that when I submit proposal on their behalf, those proposals that can be returned back to me or those that I can have access to, because there are some projects you can just plug the answer in there, right? Sometimes it's hard to access it, but once you plug in, they don't get it back again. Yeah. But those that I can have access to, I must provide those documents to them. They must have access to this document. So that's one of the decisions that was made in their March meeting, right? Okay. Yeah. So that's how some of the system is made. But what I also want to know, one of the purpose of this meeting is to make sure that what Marco just explained, that those monthly meetings are actually held. Yes. Right? Explaining the system, explaining how it should be done is one thing, but does it happen? right? Does it happen? So that is why this meeting is kind of bringing that focus that it must be mandatory henceforth to have the meeting and discuss, for example, okay, they have a project on here right now about to help visible minority community with food. So, right, so have a meeting and see, okay, how this project impacted people. Were you guys satisfied with the impact? Do we have to continue with these activities and stuff like that, right? That and discuss issue that is relevant to the organization. Discuss issue that channel a new direction of the organization. That has to be done every month.
Yes.
Right? You have to identify an issue that you guys think that is lacking in the organization, right? And one that has been identified, and you will have a purpose for having a meeting on a Monday basis. But again, these meetings have to be held on a Monday basis, and the minute to those meetings must be recorded.
That's what I was going to say. And you definitely have to have some minutes for every meeting that has been conducted to kind of show that this is what we discussed. This is what we decided. These are the actions that we took during the month. This is where we are now. This is where we're going.
That's right.
And that's why this is why I'm having this part to kind of get an understanding of how things are running now. And now we're seeing that, okay, there are gaps potentially in the frequency of these meetings. So therefore things kind of get pushed back. And then we want to make sure that that doesn't happen if we're going to continue and build this organization to something sustainable. And then that's outside of ourselves, right? So we can facilitate and have other people help in the running of it and doesn't take so much from the board members themselves.
That's right. Because what happened, Chantel, in the absence of this meeting, he lost sight of the overall objective of the organization. Right? When you don't have those meetings, hosting those meetings give you a clear understanding as to what direction the organization is taking, and that also motivates people to see which contribution are you making to the community and how this organization is positively impacting you people as a staff.
Yes.
That is why this monthly meeting is crucial.
Absolutely. And they should actually just be pre-scheduled, like we know that every month on this day, the board meets for like 2 hours, 3 hours, and then have an agenda, right? The agenda could be done up and sent out. So we know what we're going to talk about and we make sure that we hit those targets in that meeting. And putting something like that in place going forward. So we know the second Saturday of every month is when we meet as a board to discuss blah, 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 blah. And everybody knows that. It's in everybody's calendar and we're expected to be there for whatever time frame. So these are things that we want to at least highlight. So therefore, when we're creating the strategic plan, we know this is what needs to happen. So my next question is going to be, what about written policies? Does this organization have any written policies in place currently of how they expect to run? Yes?
Yes, they have a constitution. Okay. Yes.
Okay.
They have a constitution. I just want to contribute to what you said last. Like there's an organization, I have a client in Vancouver. Every second Saturday of the month, they can have a meeting. So what they do, they always bring me in their meeting. They inform me 2 weeks in advance or 2 weeks in advance. They always inform me on the day of the meeting, they call me, or 2 days of the meeting, they call me. They go say, okay, Rahim, they asked me to give an impact, an insight as to what is going on within the not-for-profit world. What is the area that they attain, I can get them money, I can get money for them. And how can they contribute to support me in that area, right? And then they will also want me to provide an insight as to what is going on their ongoing project. Have I written a progress report? When the progress report will be, what the project is going to finish. They ask me all discussion, and as I'm providing discussion, they are taking note, right?
Yes.
So they will have that meeting at the session that is allocated for me. They will call me to join them at that time, and they will ask all discussion, and I provide them that information, and then they let me go. They continue the meeting, they close it down. That's what they do for their monthly meeting. And these are things that JTWC could also adapt to.
Absolutely. And I love that, putting these things in place. So you said that there's a written constitution that guides them. So my question would now be, hold on, somebody's trying to come in again.
It's me. I want to leave the cell phone.
Okay. So when was this constitution created, and are there any updates that need to be made to the constitution?
I think there might be an update. When I reviewed it last time, it was good. there was a clear line of direction and things like that. I did not go through everything, but what I glanced at, I think is good. However, with this new undertaking we're having right now, having a website and having the website updated, who is going to be responsible for the website? Of course, Marco will be responsible for the website because he's a technology guy. And the division of labor we are going to do right now, once we conclude that section, everybody know what program and services they will be assigned to. I think these are things that can be added to the constitution, to their bylaw, and make some amendment there. So there are some room for amendment in the constitution for sure.
Monthly meetings will definitely need to be added to the constitution as well,
Definitely.
right?
Exactly.
That needs to be something updated. Any policies with regards to COVID? Like, this is something we've been into. Have you guys added anything for that? How are we going to run in case there's another pandemic? If there's another shutdown, what are our procedures in dealing with that?
Yeah.
So anything in there?
With permission, Mr. Jara, permission could come into instruction idea because I'm having this training with other organization, and we are discussing other stuff, and they're getting idea from there. So it's important we share that with you people too as well, right? So permission can come in and share some ideas. This is your training. You have to get permission to speak, right? So if you don't want me to speak, that's fine.
Yeah, you can speak, Rahim. Or Mr. Jara, you want to come in?
He's on mute. You're on mute.
Monica, you're all on mute.
Both of them are on mute. So
yeah.
Not right now. Because we don't have anything in place for the question you asked for COVID.
Okay.
We don't have anything in place as far that are concerned into our what you might call it, constitution. Oh, could you help me with the word, somebody? Please?
Constitution.
We don't have nothing in place for COVID as far as that are concerned. So yeah, that's what I have to add.
I think the question she's asking us, she's asking the recommendation. Is there any recommendation that we could think about so that if another outbreak occur or happen, JTWC will have a robust system in place to deal with that, right? So that's one of the questions that she's asking.
Yeah, we can think about something. I don't have something right off my head right now, but we can put something together and then come up with that.
Okay. Can I come in and share some idea? Maybe you guys will like that or not?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay. So so what happened when COVID-19 started? Obviously, we got some funding for JTWC.
Yeah.
And at that time, it was impossible to meet senior in person, right?
Yeah.
So the idea we developed was to say, okay, now that COVID-19 restriction in place, we have to go virtual.
Yeah.
Right? So they went virtual. And how did they go virtual? We're supposed to do information section, workshop section, in-person workshop section with seniors, and senior being the most demographic that at risk of contracting COVID-19, we couldn't bring them in person into one location. So what we did, we decided to record our information section and post it on JTWC website and social media, right? Okay. So at the beginning of this pandemic, we were actually Marco actually came with that idea, also shared that idea with him, and we were able to adapt to the new reality, right? So what we did, we bought Zoom for the organization. We bought a Zoom for organization. Then I was given the opportunity to conduct the workshop for them that were being posted on their website and social media on a monthly basis, so that seniors that couldn't come in person, they will go to the Facebook page and see the this workshop on a monthly basis, because every month we post one, right? So that was one way we were able to adapt to COVID-19. One other thing they also did, I'm saying we, because sometimes when I'm speaking to these people, we are like one family, right? Clients, I'm always with my client, I call we, right? So in addition to that, what we also did is that we were able to, because despite the challenges, we have to contribute to the community. JTWC have to support the community, but that is why there's a reason for which they existed in the first place, right? So they decided to provide transportation. right? So services that we couldn't provide in person, so they came out with new way of thinking. So they're providing transportation to seniors, supporting them to go for grocery shopping, go for doctor appointment, and then they have a contract with taxi company. So any senior want to call, they will call them and provide back and forth transportation. So that was one way to contribute to the community, to continue to serve during the time when people needed the organization, right? So they also provide face mask and sanitizer to support the community as well. So as you can see, JTWC have a system in place that if another pandemic outbreak occur, they will be in position to continue with the existing system they have in place, right?
Yeah.
To continue to provide services to the community, right? In addition to that, again, they also provided food, like bag of rice, cooking oil to many women organizations across Brampton at that time. So they have a system in place that they can respond to COVID-19 if there are any disease outbreak. But the caution is all diseases are not the same. All disease outbreak do not affect the same time. They can affect differently, right? But with this system in place, I strongly believe they'll be able to maneuver around whatever outbreak that come based on the current experience they have. I don't think if that is why you were thinking about it.
Yeah, that sounds really good. And another thing that I added is going forward, offer a hybrid model for most of your programs. So they could be in person and you could also stream them virtually so that it's easy to switch between the two if anything happens going forward. So always think about it in that way. That was really good. Great discussion. All right. So moving on, we're going to go. So to be successful, again, you must have checks and balances. So point E, you want to make sure your reporting lines are clear. And that's something we kind of just touched on is, taking monthly meetings, having reports, understand what's going on in our monthly meetings and where we're going. And F, make sure decision rights are clear. Decide how much each person's vote has so that if decisions must be made, when there is still a disagreement, there is no doubt how to resolve them. And that's the next thing we're going to touch on is dispute resolution. How currently are disputes handled within the organization?
Dispute handled within JTWC through the CEO of the organization, which is Michael Jones. So just in case, like for example, like when a board member have an issue with another board member or issue within certain project of the organization, he or she will have to contact the CEO of the organization, and then are going to schedule a general meeting where the board members and the CEO will sit down and we all discuss that issues and come to one understanding to settle that dispute within the organization.
Okay. So you're saying that the CEO's decision is final and that's the deciding factor?
No, the decision of the CEO is not final, but the decision of the CEO and the board to come to one understanding is final.
Okay, so there'll be a vote?
Exactly.
Yeah. So the issue will be discussed and they will analyze the outcome of the issue that will be discussed and the decision is made. That decision is made. People vote on the ultimate outcome, and whatever the outcome is, that is not out of the CEO can now override that, right? That's the decision of the general of the mass of the majority, and that decision stands. Isn't it, Marco?
Yes, exactly. That's what it is.
And that's stated in the Constitution how disputes are going to be dealt with?
Yep.
Sorry, I'm just gonna jump in.
Yes.
They having me, it's not gonna be any conflict because I'm not a conflict person. So if they're thinking about it, they're at the wrong place. I was in bail for conflict. So yeah, they will be at the wrong place. So
hello. It's good to hear that.
Yeah.
I highly doubt they'd have any conflict with you.
It is good to know what is the Constitution, Onika, so we can balance the equation.
Yeah, so I'm the only girl among them for now, so they cannot do anything. Yeah.
Well, that's good to know. And then going forward, we know we won't have any issues with you, but even, what about amongst volunteers or staff or stuff like that? Like how, are there any things in place on how to deal with it in that regard?
For volunteers, I'm going to jump in a little bit, unless
Okay,
Marco, you have something to say.
Sure.
For volunteers, usually because I go to a church, we usually use most of our volunteers from my church that I go to. So it's something that like giving back to the community as well. So like it's not any conflict within that. They're glad to be a part of helping us and stuff like that. So yeah, the volunteer won't be any problem. Yeah. We never had any problem with volunteer misunderstanding or miscommunication.
Church.
So, Sante, let me understand your question again. What does the sponsor say?
It's how will disputes be resolved within the organization? So yes, one at a board level and how those things will be disputed, but also within the organization, if it was volunteers or staff members or whatever, are there policies in place on how that's going to be dealt with?
Yeah, I would assume what Marco discussed initially, if there issue of volunteer and the board of directors and the executive staff have to meet and discuss what if that volunteer, the action of the volunteer is in the best interest of the organization or not. If not, they'll have to let her go. And if they can let her go, they have to find a common ground to continue to work with her. But I believe it will go through the same process that Marco discussed initially.
So even though the volunteers are coming from the church, you're saying that'll still be a board meeting to discuss it within the organization.
Usually, I will assign that with a volunteer coordinator in the organization. He or she will deal with that. That is how it should be done naturally. I don't know if that is in the constitution. I did not come across that. But any volunteer dispute, there is an individual at the start level that is called volunteer coordinator that can deal with stuff like that. And if that is what they want to recommend, maybe we can see that as a gap, and then we include that in our strategic plan. So this is what you need to do as we move forward.
Exactly.
Yeah, when it comes to a volunteer, actually, we rely on Onika Noah because she knows how to deal with the youth. She knows how to talk with the youth. She knows how to convince the youth to get the work done for JTWC. So that question is best for Onika Noah.
Yeah, and she answered it. She said we go through the church to assist with the dispute resolutions, and there's not really any issues with the volunteers from the church. So I'm glad that we haven't seen any yet, but it's good to have these things in place. So God forbid that something does come up, we know how we're going to deal with it. We're not just like, oh, we never thought about this. This is new, right? Yeah. So that's really good. So really, that was what this section was about. Just figuring out how you guys, what system you have in place currently to deal with any disputes that may come along. And maybe, none have come along, which is good. But we'd like to think things are always that way, but not necessarily so. So we have to think forward and put these steps in place. All right. So this brings us to the next section, and this is pretty robust section. We're going to look at the resource strategy linkage. And this is the first step in checking the strategy resource linkage is to identify the resource requirements for the current strategy or new strategic proposal. And this is followed by a comparison of the required resources with those available or readily available to the business. And with this, the identification of resource gaps. So this is the exercise we're going to work on now. And we're going to look at each resource by category. We're going to look at your marketing. We're going to look at your operations. We're going to look at your development. We're going to look at financial. We're going to look at your human resources, and we're going to look at your reputation. And that means like the brand. And we're going to look at what resources are going to be required for you to operate in the strategy that you're looking to execute going forward. And then we're going to look at what you actually currently have available to you. So let's get started with the marketing portion of your resources. What resources are required for Jehovah the White Cross to market the programs that you currently have or want to have in the future and the services that you offer? You said, I'm going to start. I know you're building the website. That's one tool for marketing. What else?
We do have a Facebook.
So for social media.
They do also do flyers for each program, each activities, each project they get funding for. There's always an opportunity to develop a flyers to share information about those flyers, about the program.
Of the programs, okay.
Yes.
So for social media, you only have Facebook?
Yeah, for social media, we only
have Facebook right now, but as we continue, by the time we complete the work site, there will be Twitter, there will be Instagram, there will be YouTube.
Exactly.
Yeah. Sebastian just coming right now. As you got noticed when I get a call, it was Sebastian calling me for the information. I don't know if you got noticed that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. All right. So flyer. So we have website, we have social media. What you have now, we have flyers to share information. What are some other marketing tools?
Yeah, I think it's time for JTWC to create a WhatsApp group. So all the people you are working on right now, create a WhatsApp group is one of the most effective way of getting your tools across. And I don't think they have that right now. I did recommend that a couple of years last year, but I think that'll be the best time to recommend to start working on that.
Exactly.
WhatsApp group for members to share information and have discussions.
For both internal and external. So 2 WhatsApp group, one for staff and one for external members. I think so.
External. Okay. Awesome. What about events? Events are a form of marketing. Has Jehovah the White Cross thought about putting on events within the community to kind of get the word out there about the organization and what it is that they do? I mean, now that things are opening up, I get it. We were in a pandemic prior.
Yeah, JTWC was in the process of doing those things for when the pandemic hit. Everything just went away. Well, at least things trying to get back to normal. So Onika and Mr. Jara will have to be getting busy as soon as possible. Because like every year, our plan was to host JTWC yearly meeting program by inviting other cities to come and attend our program by selling like food. People will come in to patronize our business in the food purchases, like drinks to help up the organization, like selling organization t-shirts and what have you.
Okay. So we have events are going to be coming back, and that's good. What about, how do you disseminate information on a regular basis other than social media, Facebook? Do you have email addresses for your members? Are you going to put out a newsletter? Are you going to blog about what it is that you're doing?
Yeah, for now, I'm working on the email that every board member will have the same identical last domain name.
Okay.
And then, exactly. So we can use that. Once I send that email, everybody can receive it and then spray it out to people outside so they can be aware of the program that JTWC will be hosting on that date and time. Yeah, but I'm working on it little by little, and I hope before this month end, I will get it, next month end, I will get it running as soon as possible.
Okay.
I think in addition to that, besides having a contact for the staff, what we are looking for is to have a letter, what you call monthly news bulletin. What's it called again, Chantel?
The newsletter.
Newsletter. So a newsletter go to the member of the community. So every month, at the beginning of every month or the weekend of every month, there'll be an automatic email saying once it's sent to one person, everybody see it. So that email will say what JTWC is doing. Like for example, if that email was to go out this month, it will let people know what JTWC is doing in April at Ethiopia, at Mississauga with regard to our food distribution, right?
Exactly.
So, Marco, remember, you must have a reservoir of email addresses for most of the parents, right? That's an email. That's a resource right there. That way, you collect your database, right? That's a database right there. So that email address have to be arranged in a way that, and then every month you have a letterhead. That letterhead, just one letter, you make it, change it to it, and send it out. Everybody will receive it at one time. They will be notified as to what you are doing in April, what you are doing in May, what you are doing in June. right?
Exactly.
In addition to what you just mentioned about creating to your staff, that would be internal communication. But external communication is to inform your clientele as to what you are doing on a monthly basis. Then that is a gap, and I think we should include that in the gap session.
Okay, I'm putting that in the gaps right now. Monthly newsletter. And another thing I'm going to bring up, what about any PR, any public relations or any news outlets or community newspapers? Well, not public relations service, but are you doing any PR? Are you putting out anything in community newspapers about Jehovah the White Cross organization? They have like Share Community magazines. They have so many different community magazines, and maybe community magazines native to where the organization is out in Mississauga or the West End. Is there any way to put out anything in the publications to let the community know about Jehovah the White Cross? So that's PR and media.
Yeah,
that should be in the gap as well.
Yeah, for now, that's what we're trying to work on, right? To get all these things in place as soon as possible for the organization.
Okay.
So that should go on a gap, right?
I have it under gap.
Okay.
All right. So out of all the things that we listed, the website, the social media, the flyers to share information, WhatsApp group, events, organization, domain, newsletter, PR, media, what is available to you right now? Right now, we have available to you the website.
And the Facebook.
And Facebook.
And flyer.
Yeah.
Flyers.
Yeah, the website. Facebook, the
everything else is a gap. WhatsApp is not done yet.
Yeah.
Right? We have events that aren't done yet. The domain names, the domain name email addresses, and PR media and newsletters are already there. So those are the major gaps that have to be addressed.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So I think we hit most for marketing. Let's go to operations. What are the available or the required resources that you need right now for operations?
Transportation, like a vehicle for the organization.
Okay.
One of the major issue right there.
So you have that, Santel, is that, are you asking what we have now or what we don't have? That's all.
No, what is going to be required going forward for the strategy you're trying to put in place? Everything.
Yeah, so maybe I'll add additional office space, expanded office space, more office space.
More office space, yes.
You will add more laptop and computer for staff and clientele.
Laptops and computers for staff and clientele.
Delegated phone line for the organization. Dedicated phone line, like a concentrated phone line for the organization. Marco, our team will do have that right now, right? But having it for a long period of time, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So we have that. We have dedicated phone line right now.
Okay, that's fine. So it won't be a gap. It's something that
so I would say more training for staff, how to manage their, how to become, how can I say, more training, not just more training for staff, like symposium, public speaking skill. Guys, you guys are coming, right?
I'll put that under development. I think that will go under more development, staff training.
Okay. But guess you looking at what me and Michael discussed right now, you have to come in. If you know what is lacking, because there is the organization, right? If you know something is lacking, you're not seeing this working for the organization, and you know that you have no other organization working for them. So you have to come in and share idea, because it's all of these things we are going to combine at the end of the training to identify where you need to grow in, where you need to work on, how to achieve. So you actually need to contribute.
What about more food supplies?
Yeah.
Food supplies.
Because that's part of the programs that you offer. What about program facilitators?
Yes, we need that.
Yes, we need that.
Okay, what else?
Organization meeting room.
So that we put under more office space.
More office space.
Yeah.
I'll put / meeting rooms.
Yeah. So we can put meeting and training room, training as well.
Meeting and training rooms.
Training.
Okay.
Yeah, because we might be getting some tailoring machine for them shortly.
Perfect. Okay. What else do we need?
I'm
sure we need a lot.
Ballroom table and chair, meeting room table and chairs.
So furniture.
Yeah, furniture. For both meeting room and training room, and we'll have. Can you say freezer and kitchen utensil? Think so? Okay.
Freezer, kitchen appliances.
Yes.
Okay, what about some type of project management system or program management system in place?
Yes. Yes.
How are we gonna, keep all the programs that we're running? How are we gonna know who's running what? Like to organize that, who's attending, and keep all of that in line. We need a program management system.
Yeah, program management system. Yeah.
And setting our database for that would be much preferable.
So that will be part of it. So I'll put a program management system / database.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Let's think everything else that we need for this organization to run effectively and efficiently. What about television screens or projectors?
Like monitor, flash screen monitor. A microphone. We have microphone actually.
So you have those. Okay. So I'll put it anyways. Because those are things that are required.
Yeah.
Monitors, projectors. I put that here too.
Yeah, we need flash screen and projector. Yeah. What about portable heater? Are we okay?
Portable heaters.
Yeah.
A heating system.
And air conditioner as well.
Yep. Okay. So we have vehicle for the organization, more office space, meeting and training rooms, more laptops and computers for staff and clientele, dedicated phone line for the organization, food supplies, program facilitators, furniture, freezer, kitchen appliances, program management system database, flat screens and monitors or projectors, microphones, portable heaters, air conditioners.
Did you mention laptop computer?
The fridge?
Yes.
Okay.
What else? Sorry.
You were asking about fridge, right? So like the ice box.
Yeah, we put freezer for sure.
Okay.
And kitchen appliances. Okay. So we listed that. And out of all those things, what do we have available to us right now? So you said you have the dedicated phone line.
Yes. We have office space, but just for one, for two. So
we have small office space.
I will not consider that. So
I'll put small because I put we need more. So right now we have a small office space, but can't really do anything with it.
Yeah.
What else? No food supplies, no program facilitators, no furniture. So you have microphones.
Yes.
Microphones. Okay, so therefore everything else is the gap.
So if it's a program facilitator, what do you mean by that?
So that's people to come. So you have the programs that you want to run for the women, for youth and whatever,
Okay,
but who's actually going to?
That's going to be our next screening though.
Exactly, but who is going to? You need people to facilitate these on a regular basis. It may not be the board members, right?
Then you have to say training for program. Okay, that would be on development, right? Training for program facilitator. Okay, that would be on development.
Excuse me. And under human resources, we're going to list how many we need of each, right? If we need actual staff, we need admin staff, people who's going to answer this phone that's ringing, who's going to set up the programs, who's going to take the appointments, who's going to register the students or the people that want to come to the programs. So when we get to that, we'll get deeper. Okay, so everything else we identified is a gap, and I'll fill that in after for the sake of time. So now we're at development.
Okay, I'll go to quickly training for program facilitator. Capacity building training for program facilitator.
Capacity building training program facilitators. Okay. What else?
Orientation training. So that will go on the resources, right?
No, this is for development. You need orientation training.
Yeah,
Sure.
or to the training menu or guideline. Training, yeah, training as well as guideline or menu, yeah.
Some guidelines. What about, is there any
Staff.
food handling training that needs to happen? Food handling training for people that come on.
Food handling.
Food
Yeah, that
handling.
would be good.
I thought Onika can do that.
I have that.
Perfect. But that's a required resource, and now we know that we have somebody available to do it.
Yeah, but more training for her.
Okay.
We want to make sure she has the top of the food chain.
You always at the top.
So
couple of courses that you can do for. It's not a chef program, but it gave you a lot of space to work in full
accreditation.
Yeah, they give you different certificates. Yeah.
Okay.
I called this university, the college actually that doing that program because I did one of that for my work, and they offering it for $350 for each course for 7 courses, but it's not a chef program. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
But I have
definitely
the
add
full
that.
handling course.
Okay, perfect. And then there's more that you can take.
Exactly.
Sure.
That's what I said more.
What other
Development. What about public speaking training for staff?
Yes.
What about staff review assessment?
LOL, the yes is too much.
Yeah, what
That
about
tells me that yes.
I don't know if that should go on resources, but I'm looking at staff review assessment processes or training, something like a menu or training something like that, because putting people to do a particular job is one thing, but how do you know they are functioning, right? So there has to be an assessment.
Absolutely.
Would that go on development, that training required, the training required to do that, all the resources needed to ensure that they are working diligently in their assigned position or in their assigned responsibility. Should I go on resources or human resources, or should I be on?
No, it's under training for sure.
Okay.
And what about administration training, how to handle certain documents and filing, and what's the systems going to be?
Exactly. So would that be how to prepare organization monthly report on its activities or financial auditing report, something like that? I think that should go on development.
Financial auditing reports is a whole separate one I'm putting by itself.
Yes, because that will require a lot of stuff.
Financial report training, which is definitely necessary. What else?
I think, I don't know if you can go back. Oh, we forgot about something there that we need a quick book.
Okay.
Quick book on the
operations.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll put that under operations. We need QuickBooks and financial, some kind of financial management. Oh, Michael got kicked out again.
Also on the operation, we need a printer, which we have now, so you can put that on available.
For the fax machine.
People don't fax anymore, do they?
The printer will have 3 in 1.
Okay, and you have a printer.
Have scanner, you have printing.
Okay,
perfect.
All right, Dashigi?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So under development, we have capacity building training for program facilitators, orientation training, guidelines, food handling training, public speaking training for staff review assessment process training, administrative training, so pretty much how to prepare organizational documents, and financial report training. Is that about right?
That's right.
Okay, perfect. So out of those, what do we have available?
Somebody that's a background or somebody have to mute your phone.
Yeah.
Somebody is talking. I don't know your phone is on or something is on. The project, the workshop can continue if you don't mute yourself.
I think I could probably mute it.
It's good now. Go ahead.
There, I muted it. So what are the available resources out of those ones that I've listed?
Under what?
Development.
Can you go through them? Let me see.
Okay, again, capacity building training for program facilitators, orientation training, guidelines, food handling training, public speaking training for staff, staff review, muted again, staff review assessment process training, administrative training, how to prepare organizational documents, and financial report training. So what do we have available to us now out of any of these?
I'm not sure if what Marco will say, but for me, I'm not aware of JTWC having one of those, but I'm not exactly the director. The CEO should be able to respond to that.
Is he on?
Yeah, he is.
Oh, yes.
Mr. Jones, are you there?
He's here, but he's freezing.
Yeah, keep freezing. Sometimes I hear Chantel, sometimes I don't hear her.
Oh, we hear you now.
Yeah.
The man's a CEO. He should have get iPhone 16, iPhone 20.
He seems like he's moving around a bit. What do you say, Raheem? Since it's you and I.
None of these resources are available at this point.
Okay, so then they're all pretty much gaps.
Yeah, they are all gap.
Okay. I put them there. Okay, perfect. So now we're gonna go to financial. What are the required resources financially for this organization to run effectively?
That is needed, right?
Yeah, so I'm gonna start with grants.
Yeah, increase the submission of more grant for funding.
Increase the submission of grant applications.
Train staff how to identify funding grant and how to work with project consultant to identify funding for.
Oh, so that's under development then, if we're training staff on how to work with what?
Of training staff how to identify grant and how to prepare proposal. I think so.
Grants and prepare proposals. I put that under
Development, right?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Financial auditing report that will have on development. Okay, yeah, it should be there. It should be there. Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to increase the submission of grant applications.
Mhm.
What are other ways to generate revenue, or what other financial
Fundraising.
resources are required? Fundraising.
Fundraising, yeah.
Is anybody else from Jehovah the White Cross going to speak, or is just Raheem and I for the most part?
The CEO for some reason have a cheap phone. The cheap phone is not allowing him to participate.
He was on two devices at once.
The whole CEO. Mr. Jala, there's a time for you to come here, contribute, right?
As the secretary, yeah.
There's a program director.
Oh, program director. I'm sorry. When
That's
I got all
Mr.
the
Jala.
list of, I got all the list of what everybody's doing. That's not what it was saying. So what other financial resources are required? Hello.
So what Chantel is saying, question Chantel is asking, guys, is in order to enable the organization to become an effective and efficient organization, what financial capability or tools are you going to need to ensure that JTWC provide quality services in the community?
Oh, somebody's trying to enter again.
Is David there?
Probably Michael.
Right, yeah.
So did you guys get the question correctly? So the financial aspect we're talking about right now.
Yeah, well,
We want to know what area you think that is needed to make sure JTWC can better serve the community. What financial development or skill or material or tools that is needed to make sure JTWC can better serve the community? We just listed some. So maybe you can list the one that you have already.
Yeah, we have currently increase the submission of grant applications, and then we have fundraising. So what else can we think of?
So let me, if I could just come in a little bit. So as far as I'm concerned, Jehovah the Workers is a non-for-profit organization, correct?
Yes.
So doing fundraiser, I don't know if it's allowed for if it is allowed for Jehovah the Workers to do it.
Yes.
As a not-for-profit organization, you should be able to fundraise. Do you have a charitable number?
Okay, there's one person speaking. Yeah, go ahead. I don't know who was trying to answer the question.
Santiago, go ahead.
I was saying, as a not-for-profit organization, fundraising is usually a key component for how these organizations generate revenue. Right? You're not going to generate a profit, but you do have to generate revenue for operations and to get programming off the ground. You can't completely depend on grants and government funding. So they generally allow fundraising for organizations, for not-for-profits. And I was asking, do you guys have your charitable organization number or charitable status?
Yes, for the fact, I will assume for the fact that it's a registered business. I think Michael do. I think the organization has a registered number.
Okay, so you should be able to do for fundraise.
Yeah, because this proposal suggestion, we're making is a very good one, but have to have it implemented is another thing, because the Workers is basically don't have any funds available to implement these things. So whatsoever money that comes to the organization is already laid out how to be spent based on the proposal that was written. So that would be a good idea. We can do our own fundraiser and to be able to implement some of these things to get more staff on board, like someone suggested, to be able to purchase some of these things that are needed for the development of the organization and what have you. So basically, absolutely. I just wanted to clarify that, because I don't know. I'm not deep into this to know as to whether the organization can have its own fundraising program.
Okay.
All these kind of things.
We understand. And what we're doing here is we're not just looking at what Jehovah the White Cross is now. We're looking at what Jehovah the White Cross aspires to be.
In the next 3 years, 4 years, 5 years.
Right. So that's the point of working with me, is I'm going to help put a strategic plan in place so that we get to the point where we have people in place to work with fundraising or come up with ideas on how to do fundraising in the future. You may have all your resources spent right now, but now how do we build capacity, right? Which is what we're doing here, capacity training, to figure out how we can get more resources. And one of the resources that we need more of is money. So we're trying to list all of the required resources that Jehovah the White Cross needs, and then we'll see what's available now, which is mostly just government grants, which is what you're operating on. And then what are the major gaps? So currently, are there any members of the organization? And if so, do the members pay any dues? That is a way to generate revenue to the organization, where members pay a monthly fee to be part of it, or to join programs, or to participate. So that's a way to generate revenue to the organization, because organizations need money to run. And you can't just depend on government grants.
So maybe we can include what you call partnership support for food program and stuff like that, partnering with farm and supermarket. and things like that. Would that go under finance?
Yeah, partnership support from organizations such as supermarkets.
Yes. So again, the idea is you have to envision how the database can generate money. Think of
Sponsorship.
idea like that.
I'm thinking of sponsorship as well. If Jehovah the White Cross gets into throwing events, then an organization can sponsor that event by giving a check for $5,000 or whatever for the event or towards the organization to help with programs. Or they can sponsor food, they can sponsor equipment, they can sponsor, so many things. So there are ways to get things done. We just got to think about what it is that we need and then put a strategy in place on how we're going to get there.
Yeah, sorry. I spoke to Marco about some of the things that you have just said.
Yes.
Yeah, so you elaborating more on it, so that sounds even better.
Okay.
Yes.
So let's explore those. So financial, so increase of submission, fundraising, partnership, supports from organizations, sponsorships, by selling tickets to events.
Community events, selling tickets, yes.
Community events. And that's one thing. If we get more PR and media and more people in the community know about the organization, they'd want to come and support. If they know we're having a food drive, if they know that we're having a youth day where it's activities for the kids and you have to pay $5 for your kids to join or whatever, that's all generating revenue.
Yeah. Hosting back to school.
Exactly.
For the kids. Hosting or events for old and seniors.
Or a summer barbecue where you have one of your sponsor partners from a supermarket, donate the food that's going to be barbecued. So therefore people can come and pay $1 for a burger or something like that. Like all of those things can go back towards the organization in the forms of financial support.
That's right.
Okay, so we have increased the submission of grant applications for sure, fundraising opportunities, partnership support from organizations such as supermarkets, sponsorship, selling tickets to community events. What else? Anything else we could think of?
Maybe hosting a soccer tournament.
Okay.
With various cities, you can invite various cities.
So hosting sporting events.
Yeah, sporting events.
Against other not-for-profit organizations, possibly.
Right. Where you say, well, the winner of the tournament carries $1,000, but then there should be a registration fee. For every participant, there should be a registration fee. Then at the end of the day, you can give back to them, and that will help to, uplift the organization financial status as well.
Absolutely, and they're standing in the community, and member community morale,
right,
and their image in the media and the public. So it helps to do a lot of things.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because as you invite the cities or the other organization, they themselves will advertise the event in the city, right? Or in the environment.
Yes, they will. And
that's where, great. Right. So you get a lot of publicity.
I like that idea. And therefore you're tapping into the community of other organizations to draw attention to what it is you're doing as well.
Exactly.
He's a soccer player, so he knows it.
A former soccer player.
So that's perfect.
I'm retired now.
Well, you're retired, but you could teach the youth your skills.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Teaching the youth in the community and bringing the money to Jehovah the White Cross.
Exactly. And maybe that's something that we implement, like a soccer program.
Exactly.
That can be implemented. Right. That will be sponsored by so many people. That's missing in the community.
There's actually a funding for that. Summer event. Yeah, they are funding for that, but it don't come. It come at summertime. Maybe we'll start coming on. I'll start looking for you guys. So that's
exactly.
For example, the youth of CCBN, the youth of JTWC, the youth of ACWES, two different cities can meet in one city. And then the sponsorship we'll talk about right now, bank can give you funding to sponsor that. And then there's sometimes if you're looking to get grant for that, and they can take care of the whole thing to some of the soccer events, sponsor something like that. There's always grant for that.
Or like a summer soccer program or something like that for the youth, right? Because kids are always looking for activities to ensure that they're learning team building skills, not just sitting home idle. And I'm sure that could be something that
Jara can actually do that. Yeah,
he can head that up, and then you can have
transportation for that.
Mm.
They can provide transportation for each project, each participant to go back and forward for a number of months and things like that. So that
and then you could hire volunteers, student volunteers to help run the program.
Yeah, coach as well.
Exactly. So now we're thinking, right? That's huge, and that will bring other grant funding towards the organization. So that's great. I think we have some really good ones.
Yep.
What do we have available to us right now? Grant applications.
Yeah, that's what we have available now.
Yeah, grant applications, and we're just going to increase that.
They actually have two ongoing projects. One just concluded. One will be concluded at the end of April.
Okay.
It's finished now, but we'll have to submit the final report at the end of April, at the middle of April.
Okay.
And they have two ongoing right now.
Okay, beautiful.
I think two or one, I think so.
Two.
And then we'll
this
work
one
on
they
the
have, and the full program they just have. So they have two ongoing right now.
Okay.
See, that's the advantage, right? The more applications you submit, the more you remain in action, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. Are you guys working on our community center issues that we discussed earlier?
Well, that's what we say, office space, right? Large office space, remember?
That is what we said.
Yeah,
large office space, yeah.
Community center for distribution.
That's the last office.
So we said more office space, meeting rooms, and training rooms.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you want to put specifically community center?
Yeah, maybe you can add that one there. Yeah. But these are all part of the strategic plan, right? These are the information that will be available to you, and what you have to do to get a community center.
Yeah. Okay. I got it down.
It's all part of it, but when you specify it, then Rahim will never forget. But when you join it together, say, oh, I forgot. You know what I mean?
I understand. It's there.
Yeah.
I put it there again, and I'll make sure that we highlight that the community center must include space for meeting rooms, office space, training. So we want something all encompassing.
Exactly.
Yeah, so at the end of the strategic plan, what the children will do, it will provide to you what are the gaps and what you have, and what step to be taken to ensure that you get all the things that you don't have, right?
Exactly. All right. So now let's go to human resources. We're going to look at what are the required resources when it comes to human resources that we need to carry out all of these plans that we want to put in place. So I'm going to say staff.
How far did it get to hire staff, full-time hire staff for now within the next 2 or 3 years?
Full-time staff within the next 3 years?
2 or 3 years, yes. That would be four, number 4, like 4 or 5.
The next 2 to 3 years. Okay.
Paid staff, right?
Paid staff, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
What else for human resources?
Recruiting and hiring.
Sorry?
Recruiting and hiring.
Oh, recruitment and selection. Okay, recruitment and selection strategy. Strategy and guidelines. Having some HR policies in place.
Yes. So, for example, if you violate the organization rule, what are they wanting? How many times you can be one before you're terminated? Something like that, right? That would be the policy, right?
Yeah, put the policies in place. What do you expect of each staff member? I hear somebody speaking. Is that Davis?
No. Just saying, no. When you were asking about the
David?
warning letter, I said I think they are all everything is part of the HR.
Yeah, but yeah, we have to
position.
identify them individually on a HR.
Okay.
Yeah, because what we're trying to do right now, we're trying to HR is just a broad scope, right? It's a broad something, right?
Yeah.
So we want to identify components or individual activities that make all of HR.
And really, what is required?
What we're lacking and what we have, what we don't have, and then
exactly
what we have, we work to having that to achieving those.
That's what it is. We want to see what's required, and because maybe you already have HR policies in place, but you just need full-time staff, right? So we want to see what is actually required for the organization, and then what we have available to us to identify the gaps to know how to fill those gaps specifically. So we have currently hire full-time paid staff within the next 2 to 3 years. We have recruitment and selection strategy and guidelines, and we have HR policies in place. We want to have HR policies in place. Let me see what else we can come up with. We have to come up with job postings.
Yeah, job posting, yeah.
So that means we need to really know who it is that we need. We did talk about last time, Raheem, I remember we talked about equity, diversity, and inclusion policies.
Yes, policies, policy in place, yes.
Hands-on training for applicants.
Inclusion.
Hands-on training for
yes.
applicants.
Got it. Hands-on training for applicants, for sure.
Performance management.
Say that again. Performance management? Okay.
Performance management training?
Yeah. Training for staff and board members.
Okay.
So sorry, you can't hear me because the computer that Rahim gave me, I don't know.
Everything is Rahim. Okay.
Okay. Let's see what else we can add.
Transparency within the organization.
Transparency.
The transparency policy, right?
Yeah, transparency policies. The organization. And I know we said we need some program facilitators.
We did that at the front there. We did that on the development operation.
We'll just put it again under HR.
Okay. So
we have it under operations.
Evaluation.
So yeah. Say that again.
Weekly evaluation with respect to how
that's a performance, right?
That's a performance, right?
Yeah, we did that. We did that on our operation. We did that on our
yeah.
operation. We did something there on our operation for what to call staff review assessment, something like that, right?
Yeah, we did. We have that in operations.
Guys, you know what I'm thinking about? You know, at the working place, if somebody is injured from work, when they are off, what they can be paid, right?
WSIB?
Exactly. Work up compensation, something like that.
Yeah, I think that's exclusive.
That's a view. There's something like the job posting.
Yeah,
so WSIB insurance.
Yes, insurance. That's correct.
that would be a personal insurance.
So when Sister Nika Hayes is hurting her, when she get common headache, she can go home for 3 months while we are paying her.
That would be a good one, but
there you go.
That would be for the next 6 years.
6 years?
That's a long. Was that knee pain or a headache? That was that's a long headache.
No, I mean to have it implemented.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a good thing. Yeah. But these things all happen.
Oh, we're going to be doing job posting.
Yeah, I have job postings here. Okay, so let's see what we have. So we have hire full-time paid staff within the next 2 to 3 years, recruitment and selection strategy and guidelines. Say that again.
That man is not talking to you. That phone cracking. Phone get crackhead. So go ahead.
Okay. Recruitment and selection strategy and guidelines, HR policies in place, job postings, equity, diversity, and inclusion policies, hands-on training for candidates, performance management training for staff and board members, transparency policies within the organization, program facilitators, WSIB insurance.
That's enough. That's good.
All right. So now we're going to move on to reputation. And when we talk about reputation, we talk about things to do to build the brand, right? We kind of touched on a few of these things before. So let's list them out specifically under how are we going to, what are the required resources to build the reputation of Jehovah the White Cross? So I'm going to start with one. I'm going to put word of mouth.
Yeah, word of mouth, yes.
That's the best way for people to, build a reputation is they believe the word of people they know, like, and trust. And if I tell somebody that this is a great organization that they should go to, they're going to quicker do that than if they read it somewhere. So word of mouth is a really big one. Any others?
We'll talk about newsletter. So that would be good too.
Yeah, the newsletter is a way to build a reputation.
Yeah.
I think that soccer event that we're talking about is going to be a great way to build the reputation for youth in the community. Again, we're going to look at PR and media strategies.
Yes.
Community newspapers.
Yes.
And they have quite a few. They have like the Pride magazine, that's for the Black community. They have Share magazine, that's for the Black community. They have, I think they have like an African Caribbean newspaper that, we could put ads in. So think about ways.
Yes.
Hi, Anika. Was something said?
No, sometimes go ahead.
No, she was speaking to someone else.
Oh, I get so confused. Okay, so I'm listing all of these. You guys list some.
Well, based on your experience will help them. Exactly. So what all you're listening is something that they need, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh wait, just list them.
One thing that we had said before, Raheem, was the website and the SEO, search engine optimization.
Yeah, Twitter, YouTube,
all the socials,
Instagram, all the stuff, right?
Yeah, so we're gonna put all the social handles, social media in general. And I think, was it Mr. Jallo who's Mr. Jallo had said something, I think, partner with other organizations, with other not-for-profit organizations.
Right, yeah.
I think that'll be great to build a reputation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Michael, did you say something?
Talking about that.
We're talking about reputation.
Oh, okay. I'm not hearing because my computer off and on, off and on.
I'm sorry to hear that. Another one are testimonials. What about all the people that you've already helped in the community?
Yeah, that could be one source.
Testimonials.
Yeah, that would be a good one too.
Okay. From past, from past recipients of the program. Anything else?
That's it.
Okay. So out of all of those, what do we really have in place? We could definitely capitalize on testimonials.
Well, we have not got them. We have not received them yet. So.
But those are something that you have access to right now. You can get.
No, we don't have access to it yet. Hopefully, maybe this second activity they're taking. Because see, the problem is having our people to provide this testimonial. The CA as an inferior art of doing things, right? They see they are being, our people know the mentality of the Black people, right? So
yes,
getting access to it is difficult, but I believe among many clients that JTWC have, 1 or 2 persons will be able to get testimonials. So that is something we are working on, but we don't have it available. They don't have it available right now.
Okay.
I mean, that's what you mean.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah.
But you did help people, so it's just spending time gathering. So it's easy to access, because you want to put that on the website as well that you're building. Testimonials from people that you've already helped. And I think that would be something good.
Yeah.
Okay. And what else? And then the social media, you have access to that right away.
Yeah.
And everything else, and the website and the SEO.
SEO, yeah.
Which is search engine optimization, all right? Beautiful. Okay, and then the others are gaps that we're going to put a strategy in place to fill. All right, so that was pretty comprehensive. Thank you for bearing with me. And we're going to head into the leadership training part. And this part was really where I wanted to talk about. So we're going to talk about the strategy management preferences linkage. And the strategic preference of managers have their roots in managers' personal attributes. We're going to talk about your character, competence, and job contexts. So personal attributes generate tendencies towards certain types of action. Depth of character influences what managers will do. Competence influences what they can do. And the job context adds a web of behavioral incentives and constraints. So together, these factors influence how managers perceive business situations, how they explore strategic possibilities, and how they evaluate options. So the role of the management preferences are really you and your management colleagues drive the strategy. So you, the board, drives the strategy of the organization. And like we're talking about the personal attributes, characters, and competence, right? When we get to personal attributes, it encompasses differences in the personality traits, such as being an introvert or extrovert, which influence how people relate to one another, as well as one's preferences for processing information. And this is where we were going to get into your personality profile test, the Myers-Briggs personality test that you didn't get a chance to do. So we're going to touch on this in our next training. And you're going to have an opportunity to do the Myers-Briggs personality test. And I think it's going to really surprise you as you learn more about yourself and your capabilities and those of your fellow board members and what it is that their strengths are and their weaknesses, and whether they're introverted or extroverted, and ensure that everybody is in the right position for them to operate most effectively within the organization. So that's going to be really fun, but we're going to do it next time. So for some last minute tidbits here before we close out, when you're managing your organization, you want to manage as someone operating a machine. And I pulled a lot of these from a book that I read called Principles by Ray Dalio. And he talks about how to run your organization most effectively and efficiently. I'm an avid reader, so I'm always reading and finding tidbits. So one of the things he says is look down on your machine and yourself within it from the higher level. And this means looking at things from the top down. You want to constantly compare your outcomes to your goals, right? Kind of like what we just did. You must always be simultaneously trying to accomplish the goal and evaluate your machine. So the people and the design, as all outcomes are reflections of how the machine is currently running. And whenever you identify a problem with your machine, you need to diagnose whether it is the result of a flaw in the design. So is it a result of the strategies you put in place, or is it in the way your people are actually handling their responsibilities? And understand that a great manager is essentially an organization engineer. Great managers are engineers and they see their organization as machines, and you're always working assiduously to maintain and improve them. So you want to build great metrics, and metrics show how the machine is working by providing numbers and setting off alerts and alert lights, I guess, in a dashboard. So if we're saying that we want to achieve X goal by this time frame, and we're halfway there, but we haven't really gotten as far as we wanted to. Now, is it a problem in our systems, or is it the person we put in charge to manage that particular thing? And we have to assess it before we get to the end goal and make those changes, right? So metrics are an objective means of assessment, and they tend to have a favorable impact on productivity. In constructing your metrics, imagine the most important questions you need to be answered in order to know how things are going, and imagine what numbers will give you the answers to them. You want to be aware of paying too much attention to what is coming at you and not enough attention to your machine. Oh, somebody else is trying to join, Mr. Jala.
Yeah, mine.
This meeting is being recorded.
Okay, so you want to, like I said, beware of paying too much attention to what is coming at you and not enough attention to your machine. So you don't want to just focus on fires that are just coming at you right now and not pay attention to the whole organizational design, because we tend to pay attention to things that seem urgent or important or happening right now, but we can't let what's happening within our organization or the other things that we're already trying to put in place just fall by the wayside because this new, more important thing seems to take our attention. Right? It keeps your focus on each individual task. If you keep your focus on each individual task, you'll inevitably get bogged down. If instead you pay attention to building and managing your machine, you'll be rewarded many times over. And like we said, you don't want to get distracted by the shiny objects, meaning what's new and happening right now. So we want to know that great leadership is generally not what it's made out to be. The most effective leaders work to 1, open-mindedly seek out the best answers, and 2, bring others along as part of that discovery process. And to diagnose well, you want to ask the following question. Is the outcome good or bad of what's happening currently? Who is responsible for that outcome? And if the outcome is bad, is the responsible party incapable? And or is the design bad? So if you realize that something's not working well within your organization, you want to understand, or if the outcome's good, then who's responsible for the outcome? And then you want to reward them so that they keep doing that good thing. And if it's not, then what isn't working? Is it the systems that we put in place that's not working? Or like, again, I said, is it the person that we put in charge of that particular task that's not working and we need to change that? And that would help to make sure that your machine, your business, your systems are always running most effectively and efficiently. So I was able to get us done, even with our late start, just by the 8 o'clock mark. And I want to thank you again for spending another evening of training with me. I look forward to our next one where we're going to look at the division of labor, your organizational chart, and we're definitely going to look through the results of your Myers-Briggs personality profile. And if you can actually do that test and send you're going to get a result and send the result to me, I'll implement it in our next training session as well, so we can have a deeper discussion and understand how that fits into the whole organizational design.
That is very crucial.
So where's the link